Hello, hello, hello. Can you hear me? Oh, people, do you hear me? Welcome to this live coding session with me, David Connolly, the web developer extraordinaire. We still have an industry, we haven't given up on it yet. AI may be taking over, but we're still here. And who knows, maybe we'll get a few more years out of this. You never know. I hope everybody's doing okay. I can see that Patel Philippe was here. I don't know if he still is. We have a new name, JB. Hello to you. Welcome, welcome. Are you still here, Patel? Um, well, it's kind of a. I don't know if he is. I won't go off in case he's not. But welcome. I can see we have a few people showing up. New name, JB. Ahoy to you, my friend. Ahoy to you. I hope you're doing well. All right. Patel, nice to see you. I have something to say and I want you to listen very, very carefully. Okay? When I was actually out there having a little something to eat, and when I came back, okay, I'll just show you actually. I'm just in a little flat here, right? This is not, there's nothing fancy about this place. But you see right over, and I'll spin the camera around. You see right over there, look at this pathetic living room, right? Um, do you see that iMac right there? That one? And you can see Coco's having a wee nap there on the floor. Right. That that iMac has got a little software app on it. It's a desktop app that I wrote. And what it does is it goes through a bunch of job sites and I can demonstrate it. And when it arrives on the job sites, it fills out forms for various IT jobs that I thought might be useful. And it searches for jobs. It has a browser open. Okay, it uses a thing called Electron. You've probably heard of it. So you're looking at a browser and it's typing and it has randomizers when it types. So it doesn't type like a robot. The idea is you do random delays and stuff. So it simulates a human being. And what you do is you switch it on and it goes through a whole bunch of different job websites, looks for jobs. And when it finds them, sends them into a database, does an audio alert, and then I go and look at the jobs. And the idea is that you apply for them, and if you're lucky, you get hired. Fair enough. Now, I've built that and it works, and I've used it a few times. And I was thinking to myself, Apes, thank you for your donation, but please do with a 99 pence donation. Thank you. Listen very carefully to what I'm going to say, especially before you donate. I was just out there, as I say, having a little bite to eat. And when I came back, I was thinking to myself, this, and I've thought it for a while, I thought that software would be perfect for finding the stolen watches. It might not work. I think that for all I know, the watches are in Hong Kong or they're in the ocean. I don't know. But I thought that software would be perfect. And I thought, I'm going to just give that software to Archie Luxury for free. He'll need to find somebody who's willing to use it and adapt it to his needs. For example, going into pawn shop websites, maybe Craigslist, sites of that nature. So instead of it looking for jobs websites, it could look for the watch websites. Or rather, places where people might be inclined to sell those types of watches. And as I've said before, all it's a case of is adding in the watch titles and keywords. Hopefully they're kind of unique. I think they are. And when they come up, you would do a traffic light system and all of that stuff. I don't know what the digital watch vault is. Anyway, my idea was, I thought when I was coming back here, you know what? I have Archie's email address. He has emailed me privately with a list of all of the stolen goods. And I thought, I'm just too busy to do this myself, quite frankly. I'm just too busy. But I can give him that, and I can train somebody up on how to do that. And maybe I can even give him a free consultation, because I do have expertise in this type of thing. And I thought that would have value. And I also thought it would be a nice way to wrap everything up. Anyway, I've just spent the last hour going through a whole bunch of accounts and enabling two-factor authentication, and I'm going to have to shut a whole bunch down and everything. And I've discovered that since my venture into the Archieverse, I've had hundreds and hundreds of attempts on various things, such as email accounts and so on, and other things. Some of you know that I use Skype, gazillions of attempts, and I've looked at them on the screen and it's relentless. And I've had other weird things happening as well over the last week. I've had one person who said he wanted to buy a watch, and I says, great. And he was up for it. And it was like, whatever I said, he was agreeing. Price sounds great. Everything's great. Fantastic. Give me your address. And then he just disappeared. Just disappeared into thin air. And I could go on and on and on. But I've had a lot of that type of thing that has happened. I have to say, there's a YouTuber of the watch community whom I discovered recently. I think his name is Ocean. Is it Ocean or Ocean? Irish guy, looks a little bit like George Michael. I'm sure you've seen him if you're a watch enthusiast. And I noticed on one of the Archieverse live streams yesterday, they had footage of him. Somebody had discovered footage of him apparently picking his nose, and they had looped this with music. And I don't know what happened there. I'm not involved in that soap opera. And maybe I'm sure there was some kind of history. But I just don't like it. I just don't like it. Now, for the record, I'm not anonymous. I mean, we have the guest chat. People come and see me. I live in, my address and all that's very easy to find. You can come here. I'm not anonymous. I use my real name. I don't hide. But when I see all of these attempts going on to try and, extort my address or whatever, when I see all of the clips and all of that, plus the fact that I'm getting advice from people whom I trust saying this is just some kind of setup. And in particular, when I see people behaving really friendly when I'm talking to them, really friendly, and we get along, and then suddenly I turn off and head off. And then the next day an email comes in and says, well, look what they're saying now. All of this creates a bad taste in my mouth. All of it. And this is, you should let me finish the sentence, Patel. Before you donate and before you tell me that the offer of help is there. Or the offer of help is generous. That offer of help is there as a goodwill gesture. And by the way, I don't know if it'll work. There's nothing particularly intellectual or anything about it. I think that I do have some thoughts about what I would do personally if I had all of those watches stolen. I cannot guarantee anything. It might not work, and I'm not Inspector Columbo here, but I've got a pretty good idea of what I'd do, and I would be willing to give him that software and to talk to him privately if he thinks that would be valuable. He would have to find a developer to modify it for his needs, but hopefully he would find that conversation useful, and I think I would be willing to do that. However, I have to say that I do feel as if I'm being professionally trolled. And, I stream a minimum 6 hours a day every day. And can you imagine if you streamed every day and somebody starts taking clips of you, your worst moments, and looping them and all of that? Of course, all of the stuff I've mentioned as well, and it's leaving a really, really ghastly taste in my mouth. But the funny thing is, the thing that bothers me most of all is not the two-facedness of, yay, this guy's the new talent, and then everybody sneaks off and says, isn't he an effing C? That doesn't bother me. And even all of the attempts to hack all of my accounts or whatever, which may or may not have been successful, doesn't bother me that much. The thing that really bothers me more than anything else is the fact that there was a guy whose name I don't even know, but all I can tell you is he had an American accent, and he was saying, I'm onto you, you're a con man. You're riding on the coattails of Archie and things like that. Now that bothers me because that's an attack on my integrity. I don't mind people saying I'm ugly. I don't mind people saying I'm whatever ghastly thing they can come up with. But I don't like having my integrity attacked. And that's why I decided, well, if I'm riding on the coattails, I guess I'll just delete all of the videos and forget I even mentioned the guy. You can do likewise if you want, it's fine. And that is the current state of affairs, and that's the way it's going to be. So much for that. My integrity shines like a beacon, and I'm very glad about that. But I do have to say that I'm tired of people donating and acting friendly and saying he's the new talent and so on, only to sneak away and start trimming clips, and finding all of these ghastly moments, not of me, but other people, um, coupled in with all of the other stuff going on. So I want to be very clear. The offer is there. If Archie wants to get in touch with me privately, I don't need the publicity, don't want it. But if he wants to get in touch privately, I'll be glad to give him a copy of that software. He'll have to train somebody up, and I'll be glad to give him a little consultation. But I don't want to get invited into that universe again. Don't donate to me and assume that you're going to get either a reaction or me going along to there or anything like that. It's just not going to happen. And from this point onwards, all of that stuff is going to just get really, really boring. So, best of luck to all of you. Your donations are gratefully received, but I really don't want them. And I don't want anybody to assume that I'm going back on there ever again, because I'm not. Okay? So, I hope that's clear. And with that being said, let me just say an ahoy to Kyle, who joins us here. And that's very nice to see. And I see we've got a gazillion people again. You can see what I'm up against. Now, again, don't be surprised if donations come in. I had a whole bunch of new members yesterday and everything. I must be the only person in the history of YouTube who does a live stream and goes, oh no, there's a big crowd. Oh no, gonna no donate. I must think about it. Has anybody else ever done that? But that is where we are. And I guess that's it. All right. So with your permission, uh, uh, JB, can I jump on? You said I was invited. Uh, I'm trying to. I don't have any software for doing that. I think it's a. I mean, to be honest, I don't have any StreamYard or anything software. Otherwise, you could. Zendog, ahoy to you, my friend. Janez Novak, ahoy to you, my friend. Yeah, I just don't have the. I just don't have the software. Um, Maybe we can do it another time. Maybe we can talk privately, but it's really just a statement rather than anything else. Put yourself in my shoes. Imagine if you've got like, um, you know, like imagine if there's a guy you discover on YouTube and you're watching him saying this is great and you recommend him to your friends. And then imagine you find yourself being invited as a special guest. And then imagine going through that and suddenly um, you have the experience that you had. We're not going through through all of that again. We're not going over that old ground. And then imagine you've suddenly got loads of people joining your site as a member and sending you donations and like, yeah, this guy's great. Come on the show, the new talent. But then at the same time, and I can show you the screenshots, I've had dozens and dozens and dozens of attempts to break into my various accounts and stuff like that since this has happened, and really, really dark, shady behavior. That's just a fact. That has happened. And then, of course, we've got the streams where people are like, oh, the guy's an asshole. These are people who are acting friendly when I'm there, you know? So it's just not on, you know? And if somebody wants to make some entertainment out of this, then be my guest, you know? Um, Certi, you said everyone is invited to your show. Yeah, I've said a few times, and you totally ignored me. Apologies. I never saw you. I would be glad to talk to you, Certi, and perhaps we can talk via Skype. I don't, I don't have uh, Streamyard or anything like that. Unfortunately, I really don't. Um, and yeah, I just don't. The other thing as well, I don't want anybody to take any of this too personally. For example, that's what I was just about to say. I can see JB on the screen now. Don't take this personally, but when I see names on the screen like that, I don't entirely know who I'm talking to. I've kind of got a rough idea, and if we spoke and I heard your voice, I'd go, aha. But if anybody's saying something like, "What did I do wrong?" or "Why did you not invite me?" or something like that, really don't take any of that personally. I'm not sitting down and taking notes and saying, "Oh, it was him" or something. It doesn't feel like that. From where I'm sitting, it feels more like a sort of covert blanket attack, you know? So at least there's that, right? And the other thing as well, of course, is that I am an IT professional. I'm definitely not a genius, but I have friends who are the best in the industry at matters to do with online security. And I know I mean, geez, it's no secret. I mean, I have a friend who has video tutorials where he walks into online banks and stuff like that. I mean, I really have some of the best friends in the business to the point where I'm pretty confident that if I wanted to, I could probably do a better job of going after those people who have gone after me so maliciously as they have done. I'm pretty sure I could do an even better job, but I'm really not interested. I'm not interested in any of that. I've had enough. Anybody who sends me funds, I don't have a refund button. Heaven knows I looked for it. But I'm not going on that show again. Okay? That's it. It's done. And that's pretty much it. If Archie wants a software, he can talk to me and I'll talk to him privately. I have a few thoughts about what I would do if it happened to me, um, but no guarantee that I would find the watches. And there's no question that what happened with the watches was terrible. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, JB. JB. Bless you all. Right. Okay. Um, All right, so that's it. So thanks very much. I appreciate you. Uh, and I think with your permission now, I'm going to do a little bit of coding, okay? That's it. So have a great day. God bless you. And GBGB says respect. All right, we're good. Okay, folks, so with your permission, those of you who are here for the coding, I think there's like one. That's okay though. For the one or two, I'm just starting up my little XAMPP engine so that I can write some codes here. Okay. All right. Okay, folks. So, shall we dance? Shall we dance? Oh, people, do you hear me? Shall we dance? Now, I'll just, I'm slightly nervous about this. I think, right, I need to do something. Okay. All right. Am I still on? Okay, cool. So, folks, right, let's do this. Let's do this. 30 asked, do I ever get bored of coding? Of course, yeah, of course. I find that I do get bored with it, but my biggest problem is my hands. When you type a lot, your hands get a bit sore, you know, I must be getting old. Um, but at the same time, I'm not a coding genius, definitely not a marvel of modern day science. But coding is good for depression, funnily enough. And if I stopped coding today, I'd feel great and I'd have a brilliant couple of weeks and I'd be like, yeah, this is great. But then in a couple of weeks' time, I'd start to probably have dark thoughts about how we're all going to die and stuff like that. And I find that that can become overwhelming. And coding is a good way of dealing with that because when you're coding, you don't get depressed. You know what I mean? Uh, all right. Could you give me just a second? There's a strange smell coming in here. All right, it's fine. Um, okay. And for the record, I haven't blocked. I blocked one person by kind of by accident a few weeks ago, but I haven't blocked anyone lately. All right. Uh, so let's code. Oh, geez, with a $5 donation, thank you, Patel. What's the best watch to wear during a Scottish winter? I don't know. I'm not. I don't even know if I'm going to talk about watches again. I'm done with it. You know. I came in from the web development industry thinking well, I had a little bit of controversy, sounding like Sean Connery there. And I thought, what harm can this do? What harm? Nice fresh start. No controversy there. And how wrong I was. Geez, it's been horrendous, you know. So I don't even know. I'm just here for the code, you know. All right. So let me just get my act together. Okay. So we are building, for those of us who can be bothered, um, an internal messaging system. And this internal messaging system is going to have a members area. Now I'll chuck this off here. And I'm going to log in to this members area here. So this is obviously just a little test account. And here we are. Now I'll click on view your messages, and as you can see, a whole lot of nothing happens. So let's look here, and you can see that we're calling a thing called check user permission. That's right. Now this is loading up a module called LST, which by the way stands for last contact. It's the last contact form that you'll ever need. At least that's the theory. And let's get this happening. Now, I'm getting an error message. Return value must be of type user bool. This is a bit of a downer. I'm going to write the word object here. Save it and refresh. Well, aren't I a lucky guy? That was just a guess, if I'm being honest. So the idea is that we've got a little function that figures out if this user is allowed to access this page. Returns false if the user is not allowed, or a user object if the user is allowed. So in the case of this example, you can see that it says OK, and we've returned a thing called trongate user object. So I'm going to JSON user object true, and this is giving us a little summary of who has made the request. So the idea is that if they're not allowed, they get false returned. But if they are allowed, they get this returned. So just a little bit of information about who's trying to log in. Just heating my hands up here, folks. Forgive me. All right. So, right, that's a user object. And again, I'm asking the question, are they allowed to be here? So once again, it's calling check user permission. We pass in a little action. We're saying, is the user allowed to read? And if we don't have a message ID, well, I'm going to just... If we don't have a message ID, we're going to find out if the user level is part of the system, and if they are, everything's fine. So I am 100% happy with that, at least so far. So here we are. Make sure the user's allowed to be here. And the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to make sure that the folder name is valid. Now that I'm looking at that again, I suppose we could actually say, make sure the folder name from the URL corresponds with a valid folder ID. Okay? So if we think folder name is segment 3 and we echo folder name, we have nothing. Now let's just say if the folder name is nothing at all, then the folder name is going to be assumed to be inbox. So again, I'll just echo the folder name, little old die statement. So if we do something like the junk folder, you can see it's now reading it from the URL. Like this. Pretty neat, pretty cool. All right. So we're now going to check the folders that are considered valid folders for our system. And here they're here. So I'm going to say valid message folders is this message folders. Okay, hold on. One moment. LST settings is this, that. I'm going to JSON this. I'm slightly lost. I'm definitely slightly lost. All right, so let's go back here and let's try something a little bit more sophisticated. I'm going to say attempt now hold on. Attempt return folder object, we'll call it. And I'm going to say cool. All right. How you doing, D3 Mon? Ahoy to you, my friend. Ahoy to you. Lux Report, can you make iPhone, Android apps? No, I started on Android apps and I wasn't into it. Nah. I know people who can though. All right. Thanks for that. Right, okay, so attempt return folder object. Now let's imagine that this is taken in a folder name. So we've already loaded up this class and I'm going to just say folder object is this attempt return folder object, and I'm passing in the folder name and I'm referencing this other class here. So if I go like this, you can see that it says cool, and there we go. There we go. Okay, so attempt return folder object. Now what this is going to do then is I'm going to say valid folders is this settings. Now if you look at this settings file here, you can see we've got a thing called message folders. I am going to JSON valid folders, and hopefully this will tell us what the valid folders are. Okay. Now, I'm going to say for each valid folders as valid folder. Well, let's just say if, now there's going to be two conditions, if something or something. And the two conditions are going to be if the folder name is equivalent to hang on. So if the folder name is equivalent to valid folder, or the folder name is equivalent to string to lower valid folder, then I'm going to just echo gotcha just for the moment. And there it is, okay? So the idea then is that if this happens, we are going to return valid folders with a key of key. And that is us basically returning the folder object. I should write that in actually. All right. Now that's if we loop through all of that stuff. But if we don't find it, we're going to return false. Okay, a little tidy up here. And there we go. So if we go back over here, I'm saying folder object is this. You can see that it's doing its thing. But if we now go var dump folder object with a die statement, and I'm glad that I did that because I don't want that. I'm going to say folder. Let me get this right. I'll say key is key, and I'll say folder name is well, actually, we'll just pass in the folder name, whatever it was. Now that's an array, but we could say folder object is an object of the folder. We just like working with objects here, right? For no particular reason. So there we go. And now we've got this object that is returned. If we had added in a duff folder name, so let's say that the folder name was blah, you can see that it's returning false. Pretty cool, pretty cool. Also, if we say JSON folder object true, we get this. Okay? So, there we go. Now, if this folder object, and I should get this right, if the folder object is false, that means that this person is not allowed to be here. So if we go back to check user permission, I'm going to just say echo not allowed later. We'll deal with it later on, right? So there we go. And again, I'll deal with this later on. But for the moment, let's just march forward. There you go. And there it is. Okay. So what have we just done? In plain English, we're building an internal messaging system. We have made sure that the user is allowed to be here. And we've now made sure that the folder name from the URL corresponds with a valid folder. I should say a folder object. We've then fetched that folder object. And in doing so, we've now got a folder ID and a folder name. And that being the case, life is good. Life is definitely good. All right. Okay. We have a couple of little comments and super chats and stuff. Apes, thank you with a 199 super chat. I appreciate it. Patel says, David, what's the best dessert to pair with coding? I just don't understand the question, but if anybody else wants to know, let me know. 6:30 in the morning and I'm already halfway through a bunch of scotch. Okay. I'm being asked to do a comm stream with Archie. I'll talk to Archie privately. It seems that if I ever venture into the Archie universe, I have somebody saying I'm a con man hanging on to coattails. So fine, I won't go on, and I'll delete any videos with any mention of him. So that's done. But I'll talk privately to anybody. Jock is okay. He was a bit hurt about David's assumptions. Well, we spoke about that last night, and I think that we spoke to death about it, and there's not really much more to add. Just to reiterate what I said, I felt quite threatened. I mean, I was assuming that he lived 20 minutes away, and I was assuming that he was going to bust in the door or something like that. So I was on, to say I was on high alert was an understatement. Um, but it's all water under the bridge, you know? And there you go. All right. So, okay. All right, moving on with this fantastic app. And by the way, that was a two. Can you believe it? Two from Patel. I'm not going on the show, mind you, but if somebody wants to give me money, thanks, I'll take it. And TW says it's just banter. Do you know what's so sad? I'm really hopeless with names, and I know that I've got this feeling I'm talking to people whom I've spoke to before. I wish I had StreamYard or something, but I don't. So all I've got is a name, and all I can say is thanks. Okay. Um. Okay. Okay. So slightly lost here. See, I have to be entirely honest with you. I'm hearing that somebody has gone insane and all of that, and I just can't be bothered with it. Um. And I really can't be bothered with it. It just sounds like a soap opera. I'm here trying to write some code. So if anybody would like to go insane, I'm incredibly easy to find, and you come on over and have a cup of tea and tell me how insane you are. Whatever, it's fine. But I'm really here to code. Um, all right. So I really don't want to give any publicity to anybody who's looking for drama or anything like that. I'm glad that they're able to do that, and hopefully they can do a great job of it and get lots of clicks and all of that. But I'm not doing it. I'm not participating. And to be entirely honest, if I see that kind of thing getting cred and airtime in here, no offense, but I'm probably going to have to start thinking about hiding users from the channel, or whatever. I'm just done with it. I'm tired. I feel like it has been talked to death. I don't think anybody's going to I think everybody's a bit tired actually. So I'm coding. All right. So here we are. We've asked, is the user allowed to be here? We've made. Oh, the bin men. Give me a minute, folks. I need to take the bins out. Oh gee, I need to lose weight. You look at me here and looks like I'm an average weight, but my body does this like it's like Zippy, from that TV show. Anybody remember that? Anyway, um, yeah. All right, let me just catch my breath, if you will. Uh, okay. All right. Ahoy to Gear, my great friend Gear from up there in Iceland. And I have to say, it's uh, it's nice to still have a few developers around. Anyway, I'm going to get coding if that's okay. Here we go. So the next thing that I'm doing at this point is I'm going to fetch. So the vibe is just writing in plain English. Fetch all of the messages from this folder for the user. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. And I can probably do a little function down here that goes and does that. So I'm going to pass in the, let's have in the user object, which we've got. And then let's have a little bit of, how am I going to do this? Oh geez. Okay, let's pass in the folder name. Or perhaps the folder ID. And I'm going to pass in an optional search phrase, but we'll set it to null. So this basically means that we're allowed to have this can be used with a search engine if we want. All right. So here we go. Now I'm going to quickly open up something. Okay. All right. I'm actually going to stick a wee bit of music on as well. We like a bit of music when we code, right, folks? Oh, yeah. Anyway, let's do this. So a little bit of sounds, so you're not listening to me breathing all day. I'll tell you one thing. If I finish this, it will be the greatest coding day of the month. Okay. Okay. So we're in the business of fetching messages. So we're going to say all messages is this. Fetch all messages. Going to pass in the user object. And then I'm going to pass in folder object loading up ID. Now that's going to say, here we go. Hold on. Oh, it's... This should have actually been called folder ID. There you go. So, moving on. There it is. So we've now got this little function here that is taking in a user object and also taking in a folder ID. Okay. So, what are we going to do? We are going to fetch a whole bunch of messages. Now, the first thing that I need to do is, if I just JSON this user object here again, just as a little reminder, you can see that we've got a thing called Trongate user ID. So I'm going to say Trongate user ID equals, now let's just say it's an integer of user object loading up that or 0. That or 0 gives us a little fallback, you know. If we var dump the Trongate user ID, oh gee, there you go. We've got 2. And now we're going to get these queries happening here. And this is how they go. So we go like this. This is us getting the message folders ID. And that is going to be folder ID. Now there's also a question of a user level here. So once again, if we JSON user object, you'll see that we've got a thing called user level right here. So let's just say that the user level is the user object loading up user level, or we'll make it an empty string. Perhaps we'll even say string to lower, just in case somebody makes the user level admin with an uppercase A or something like that, you know. Okay, so this particular user is a member. So we're going to go like this. And we're saying here, we're going to run this query, and that's going to fetch a bunch of messages. Now, unfortunately, the table is not found right now. So I'm going to solve that by going into the database. All right. Okay, so here we are in the databases, and I'll just create this table here. So I'm just making a messages table, which now looks like this. Okay, now I think we have got a folder ID here. So again, I'm just going to go like, there we go. Now, believe it or not, that has ran the query. Might not look like it's ran the query, but it has. And the way that we check is if we open up the model, change debug to true, save, refresh, there you go. So you can see it's doing the query there, right? Select all from the messages were sent to is to, and message folder ID is blah blah. So we know that this is working. Question is, what do we do with the messages? Well, you can see the answer right there. The answer is we return them. So now if I go JSON all messages, well, it's actually empty, but that's okay, you know. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with this function. I think it's, yeah, I think it's looking quite good. The only thing I would change is, yeah, no, it's fine. There's nothing I would change. It's pretty good. Okay. So, let's now, what am I doing? I just had a strange mental explosion there. What am I doing? Oh yeah, I know exactly what I'm doing. We're going to take a little trip to the employee of the month. Okay, and here is the employee of the month in full formation. And we're going to ask the employee of the month to basically add a few bits and pieces onto this to formalize it, you know. So I'm going to go like that. And you can see it's just giving me some nice comments and stuff like that. Which is, you know, doesn't do any harm. Doesn't do any harm. Okay, so just to look at what it's saying this fetches all the messages for a user from a specified folder. And we're doing that. We pass in the folder ID. We pass in an optional search phrase, and it's going to return an array of found messages. That's what it's doing, okay? Now I'm going to reference a previous example here because this can get a little bit tricky at this point. Okay. Okay, so this is... I'm going to add this stuff here. Actually, you know what? I'm feeling kind of crazy. Let's just add all of this. Let's just add all of this. Okay. Now you can see this is going to cause an error because it's looking for a thing called get limit. And we don't have get limit. But it's okay. We can get it. Okay. So going back up to this code that I've just pasted in, you can see that it's trying to get a pagination route. So pagination is where like you've got a search page with little numbers to browse page 1, 2, 3, etc. That's what this is. Now, we are gonna give me a moment. Yeah, let me just JSON folder object. And you can see that this is given as a folder name of inbox. Now, if you look at our settings here, you can see that, right? So I think I've got something I would like to do to this, which I should have done a minute ago. Right. Let's do that. So it's now given us inbox with an I, right? And let's do something kind of cool. How about if we go like this? Okay, one moment. Yeah, let's have folder label. And what we'll do is we'll make it so that the valid folder is the folder label, which has an uppercase I. But for the folder name, we're gonna create a URL friendly folder name. So the way that that works is we're gonna say folder name is URL title valid folder. Gonna var dump this folder name. Now let's just imagine that the valid folder is my super cool folder. You can see that it has turned it into a nice URL friendly thing, you know? So that means that we can do this. And now we've got this nice, a slightly more meaningful object, you know? With a folder name and a folder label. So I'm going to say right here, folder object, loading up folder name. I'm going to echo pagination data, pagination route. I just want to check that that has worked, and it has. Looks pretty cool, right? Now this is going to be used at the top of the page so that people get little numbers and they can navigate through the pages. I just had a thought, you know. I wonder if that guy has paid me on eBay yet. I'll maybe have to look at that at some point. Yeah, I did an eBay sale, and unfortunately the guy the guy who won the bids never paid. Bit of a downer. All right. So we've got this compose message URL thing here. So this is going to be base URL LST messages. I'm going to call it init compose. There it is, right? So if I say echo data compose message URL, right, okay, I can see that somebody has decided to give airtime to some drama, and unfortunately I'm just not having it. So there we go. I made it clear I don't care what somebody is saying. Oh my goodness, how terrible. David, that is silly. Who would? What are they talking about? I don't know. Is it a little bit of drama? Okay. Hello Dan Stuff, how you doing? It's nice to see you. Welcome. Welcome. Oh, JB says, who would do that on eBay? I know it's a downer. I would not do it. I mean, I wouldn't do it, you know. Yeah, there seems to be some other rant or something, and I'm looking through the comments for anybody that's mentioned it, just banning them from the channel. So, really, I would advise you to just let's not give any more attention to that bullshit. That's done. Anyway, ahoy to you, Dan. Very nice to see you, my friend. I hope you're doing well. Okay. Hello, wee Coco. Are you okay? My poor wee thing. All right. Okay. So, I've got this compose message URL happening here. And then we've got a thing called reduce rows. Now this is because you don't want a gazillion messages on the page. You want to limit the amount of messages that appear on a given page, right? So okay, now this is calling upon get offset, but it's also calling upon a thing called get limit. So we'll bring that in. Okay. And we've now got ouch. Okay. So we've now got our little reduce rows thing here. There's a thing called add more user data, which I'll add on later. Come on to that later on. And I've got a couple of other bits and pieces, but I'm not going to worry about this just yet. Okay. So, seems like you're doing the world's most gentle trolling. Okay, so if there's people trolling, let's see who. JB, God bless you. Talk to me privately if you want. Hide user on channel. Patel, let's not have you as a standard moderator anymore. Thanks for the donations. Talk to me privately if you want. Let's have you removed from the channel as well. Anybody else? How about this? Squared Index seems to be in on something. God bless you, my friend. Nothing personal. But let's hide that user from the channel as well. Would anybody else like to do a little bit of gentlemanly trolling? Anyone? Anyone at all? Let me know. All right. Okay. So moving on. Oh, thank you, Mame. I appreciate you. Bless you, my friend. I appreciate you a whole lot. And yeah, maybe we can, we'll do that later on. But you know, I'll talk to you later if that's okay. We've got a lot of, as you can see, my stream has become incredibly popular. But thanks for that. All right. So, well, who'd have thought web development could be so popular, eh? Okay, now I'm seeing a per page options. Let me see what that does. I think it's something like this. Okay. Okay. Um, all right. Forgive me for pausing there. I'm just pretty much just trying to get my head around how this thing works, you know? Okay. Okay. So I'm going to JSON this user object here. Chuck in a little die statement. Right. Okay. So what I think I'd really like to do is find out what template this user should be using, you know? So when we go to check user permission, I'm going to say user object is, now let's say this add, if we look at the settings here, we've got user template. Good. And we're going to pass in the Trongate user object. Or let's call it establish user template. That's what we're doing really. So here we go. Okay. Good. So we're going to say default. Nah, we're not. We're going to say user template is this LST default user template. Okay, so this is saying the public template is our default template. Now, if we look at our settings here, you can see that we've got a bunch of user levels, and we've also got the templates that correspond to those user levels. So I'm going to say hold on. Alright, I actually have made this far too complicated. We don't need this. Okay, so we're going to say get user object. User template is allowed user level user template. So if we JSON get user object true, oh, I think I know what it is. Right, I've got you. If I JSON the allowed user levels, right, here they all are. So what this is doing is it's saying that's right, that was my mistake. I should have said user level is that. If the user level is that, then we return the object, but we're also going to say that. So I've added in a user template. Okay. Good. Okay, so we've checked the folder name's valid, we've checked that the user's allowed, we've got our pagination data, we've got all of the messages, everything is fantastic, and the next thing we're going to do is establish the template to use. So if we take user object, and you'll recall that we had added on a thing called user template. So if we do that, then we do this. Okay, so it's trying to load up a members area. So let's go to templates, and we'll have a little members area. Good. So the members area is going to load a file called members area. It doesn't really matter what it does at this point in time. Any old HTML file should be fine. Going to add in a little style sheet. And just for the moment, we'll just draft together a dummy members area. All right. So let's just imagine that this is a members area here, right? Just drafting it out. Now, if I go template, okay. So as we look at our messages here, it's trying to load up manage messages. So I'm going to go into this views folder here. I'm going to create a new file. Manage messages.php. All right. So let's have, oops. Okay. So I'm going to have a little reminder of what the data is that has been posted into this page, and here it is here. Okay, so I suppose one thing that we could do that might have a little bit of value is if we clarify what the message folder is. Now we do have a folder object, and this folder object has got a folder label. So I'm going to say that the message folder is the folder object loading up folder label. Okay, so now that we've established what this message folder is, we are going to get geez, what are we going to get? Let me look at this attempt return folder object again. All right, so I've got a folder name, a folder label. So for example, inbox. Let's also have a folder title. So the folder title could be your, and then something like that. So that means that if we go back to our page here and we JSON folder object, you can see that it says your inbox. Now, before we all crack open the champagne, let's have a look at the settings. You can see here that we've got these possible folder names. Your inbox, it makes sense. Your junk, it makes sense. Your archives, that makes sense. Your important, doesn't really make sense. And soon we're going to have a sent folder. So I'm going to say if, now hold on a minute. Let's go around about here and we'll say if the folder title, or pardon me, if the valid folder is equivalent to important, then the folder title also equals messages. So what that means is if we have, let's say, a valid folder of important, do you see how it says your important messages? Kind of cool, right? So that means that we can, instead of saying this message folder, we can say page headline is this. So you can see that it's now saying your inbox, which is perfect, right? I think anyway. So let's head over to manage messages and we're going to echo the page headline. And as you can see, it now says your inbox. I'm feeling a wee bit like this might have been a mistake. Made a few mistakes lately. Alright. So this is going to be our inbox. Now, another thing that okay, just thinking. How you doing, Shabansh? No, Lux Report asked David Conley, do you know where I can make learn how to make iPhone and Android apps? Yeah, unfortunately not here, but try a search and you might find some place does them. Shibanch, how you doing? Welcome. Nice to see you. Okay. All right. So what I think I'll do then is I'm gonna say data user object is user object. Over here, we can JSON the user object. Okay, so I'm going to just map this out. So basically, it's obviously a manage messages page here. So along the top, we're going to have a bunch of buttons that show the different folders. So I'll just, you know what, I'll just write it like this. Display buttons for different folders. So there's going to be buttons for inbox and all of that type of stuff. Round about here, we're going to have the pagination. Around about here, we're going to have the rows. And around about here, we're going to have more pagination. And that, my friend, is the basic structure of this thing. And yeah, that's good. I'm happy. I'm happy. I'm really happy with that. So that's going to give us our layout. You have to do a little bit of visualization here. So imagine we've got buttons that say inbox, sent folder, junk, all of that stuff. And then we have our what's called the showing statement, showing items blah to blah of blah. Then you've got the messages themselves, and then we finish off with pagination at the bottom of the page. That is going to be us. Mookie, hello to you, bless you. Nice to see you. I hope you're doing well. All right, well that's kind of good. I'm feeling like I've made a wee bit of progress, so that's good. Had a slow few days, you know. All right, so let's move on, onwards and upwards. Now we do have JSON user object. All right. So I'm gonna have to think about this. Okay, so I'm gonna call upon modules run, and it's going to be lst messages. It's a module within a module, and it's going to be draw. I'll call it draw top. Oh geez, let's call it draw message options. That makes a wee bit of sense, right? And we'll pass in the user object. In fact, let's just pass in all of the data. So around about here, we'll do a little echo OK. So this is going to be figuring out what things we should add. And you can see we've got a whole bunch of stuff here. We've got a page headline, for example. I'm probably going to have to pass in a folder name. I've just realized that. So let's do that. Let's say data folder name is folder object. Actually, let's make it folder label, a little bit more precise, you know. So we do have a folder label. So as we head up here, and we're going to call draw message options, we're going to say folder label is data folder label. I'll add in a little emptiness as a fallback, and I'm going to just echo folder label with a die statement. So this is the inbox. Now let's get the valid folders. So valid folders is this lst settings message folders. Oops, well, I have to load up that class. So this module lst oh, it's a nightmare. Right, hold on. Okay, so we get our folder label. Now on this thing here, let's have a little function for returning the settings. Can we do that? Or could we even do something like this? Okay, suppose I say lst settings is now that's going to give us an error. Of course it's going to give us an error. Okay, but if we say nah, it's just not happening. Okay, fair enough. So let's add in return lst settings. So it's going to return that. if I now say well, forgive me, I'm a bit stumped here. Okay. So function return LST settings. Is it gonna what? Is it gonna what? Come on. Ah, okay. There they are. So finally we got there. I don't know what was causing those issues, but we've now got access to LST settings. Okay. So what we're going to do then is we're going to get the message folders. So we're going to say valid message folders is LST settings message folders. If we JSON valid message folders, you can see that we've now got a summary of all of those message folders complete with keys and everything, you know. So that being the case, let's say so let's say data. I'll call it current folder label is that, and I'll say data valid message folders is that. Then I'm going to clarify what the view module is. In this instance, the view module is lsd/messages. I think I've done that right. I have. And then the view file is going to be called message options. Actually, we don't even need to do that. We can simply say this view, and it's going to be message, probably message folder options, actually. Message folder options. Yeah. Or maybe just message options. There it is. We'll pass in the data. Okay, so now we're going to get a view file called message options. There it is. Okay. So right at the top here, we're going to have our message options. Now, this can take any form that you like. But I'm going to say for each. Now, keeping in mind that we do have some valid message folders here. So for each of those is valid message folder. If we var dump valid message folder with a die statement, you can see that that's a string. So let's get a URL friendly version of this. So we'll say folder URL is going to be base URL LST messages manage, and then we're going to have URL title valid message folder. So I've just constructed a little folder URL here which looks like this. You can see it's pretty much the same as what we've got here. So that means that we've now got a link, you know. With that being the case, we can echo something that goes to the folder URL. We're going to pass in the valid message folder, but we're also going to pass in an array. It's going to have rewrite URL assigned to off, and we're also going to have a class of btn class. Now btn class is going to equal button. If we now do that, you can see we've got a whole bunch of these here. But let's do something a little bit more sophisticated. You can see that we've got a thing called current folder label. So we're going to say button class equals if the current folder label is equivalent to valid message folder, then the class is going to be button, otherwise button alt. So now you can see that our inbox gets highlighted, and as we go through the different folders, it's pretty cool. It works, you know. Okay, well, I'm still popular. All right. So we've got a little thing at the top here, drawn the message folders, 3 cheers for us. The next thing I want to do though is add in a link for a sent folder, which is pretty much a valid thing if you ask me. So I'm going to say sent, and I'm going to say button class equals. Now if segment 3 is equivalent to sent, then the class is going to be button, otherwise it's going to be button alt. There it is. Okay. Now the folder URL is going to be that. And there you have it. And we'll do the sent folder later on. Not too bad. That's not too bad. All right. Okay. Well, Duck Diggler, I want my money back. Well, I tell you what, I know how you feel. I wish I could give you it back. Anyway, I think I'm going to wrap this one up. Thanks so much for passing by, all of you folks. I appreciate you. And yeah, that was not too bad. That was not too bad. I think I made a little bit of progress with this thing. It has gone on forever. And also, I noticed today that my white patches are not as bad. So I'm hoping that they're going to be going away. I don't know. Anyway, thank you so much for passing by, everybody. Stay cool. Have a fantastic day, evening, whatever you're doing.